Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're viewing from. This is Laura Thompson, your friendly, fabulous, feisty, fierce, and phenomenal general manager and creator of TAAN TV, the African American Network. We have a local feel and a global reach, and you're tuned into the coffee break. And I have the distinct pleasure of hosting and interviewing the fabulous, feisty, fierce, and phenomenal scorpion, just like me, Spicy Gray. How you doing, Spicy?
I'm fabulous, fabulous.
Well, that's good. Listen to her voice. She's got that Anita Baker voice, don't she? So before we get into it, now this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and
Yes.
so Spicy is very connected to the domestic violence awareness movement, and so that's why we have her on the show today. Other than the fact that she's super phenomenal, but before we get started in the interview, Spicy, I just wanted you to give a little biographical information about yourself so your audience will know who they're chatting with.
All right, all right. Well, I'm Spicy Gray. I'm the owner of the Unspoken Heart Discussion Hour, and I'm also the founder and owner of the Unspoken Heart by Spicy Gray's business. I am a motivational speaker, a published author. I'm also a community coordinator and advocate. Um, I'm also have my own podcast every Thursday. I do come from domestic violence, and I transformed that into something healing.
Right. So you can always, and she's testament of it, that you can always turn a bitter situation into a great situation and to help others and to heal yourself. So we're just super excited that you've done that. I know I've had an opportunity to interview Spicy before, and she was telling me, I was telling her she's got this poetic voice and that she's a great writer. And she said, I'm not a poet and I'm not a writer, but today, I think that was about a couple of years ago, today, she is a published author. She is a domestic violence advocate, and she's also a survivor. And so I'm super excited today because her whole energy has changed from the first time I interviewed her. But she was just getting started on her journey. And now, you know, when you see her, she has a great big smile. And so you can tell that her heart, you know, has healed, and she's going through a great transformation just since a couple of years ago. So it's just amazing what God can do for you if you stay on that purpose path, which she has. And so, so we're going to be talking about, you know, how you survived during your domestic violence time, or some solutions that you can offer people that may be going through domestic violence, and how, you know, they can protect themselves and get out of that situation. So
Okay.
if somebody is like going through a domestic violence situation, a lot of times, I've never been through it, but you know, I know people that are maybe probably afraid to get out of that situation, or they make it. I won't say they make excuses, but they're afraid to get out of the situation. So, what are some of the things that you can do to get out of that situation, or some signs to look for?
Well, you mentioned the one thing that I call the master key that a lot of people don't understand why people stay or why they go back, and that is the fear. The fear is the main thing that controls every mobility in your body, including thinking. When I was going through my domestic violence, I actually was married for 16 years. And with him, it wasn't the physical part. It was more or less the mental, the verbal, the emotional abuse. It was hard to get out of at the time, but I got to the point to where I was just tired. I mean, I felt, it took my son, because, that's one thing I looked to was my children. It was my son. He looked at me, he says, Mom, you don't deserve this. He says, why don't you leave? And that's where I had gained my first, level of strength from. And at that time, I thought it was going to be easy to just walk away. It was not. He did pull a gun on me. He threatened to take my life. He was stalking me. I had been hitting out in hotels. He would find out where I was at. And the one thing I give all credit to is that I never give up on is my Heavenly Father. Because the one last step was I was so exhausted to where my mom was pleading me not to come out of hiding. But I went to Ritterman Park and I didn't feel him walking up. I didn't hear anything because I was just so overwhelmed. But I felt the presence just sit down beside me.
Mm.
And it was at that point where he put a gun right in front of me. And he says, you have two options. He said, you either come back and we be a family, or I have 3 letters in the vehicle. One for your mother, one for my mother, and one for the kids. At that point, I guess my mind was just not thinking rationally. I was more exhausted than anything because I was like, Lord, I know you didn't put me on this earth to live like this, to go through all this. And so I looked at him and I was like, it was like this fear was lifted off of me. And it was like, you have an option. Either I get up from here and I go on with my life and raise my kids and do what I got to do, and you won't have me that way. I said, oh, you pull that trigger and my mother will have to bury me and the kids will be without their mother, but you still will not have me. I guess he was shocked because I got up, I walked away, not even thinking this man could have shot me in the back of the head. He could have did anything. I do thank God for the battered women and children's shelter. I didn't know they had existed. I started going through counseling through them to try to seek help for myself because at the time I knew it had traumatized my children as well as myself. At the time that I left him, I hadn't totally healed to where I ended up in another relationship that was traumatically abusive. And I lived in deep fear. When you say fractured ribs, busted lip, black eyes, plugs of hair missing, in your scalp. And it was more or less, I could get rid of your body and nobody know what happened to you, where you at. And once again, this one cocked the gun on me. And it took a lot. And I think my position was, I looked to my children. And I just said, enough was enough. I had a 1-year-old son at the time by this second man. My other 3 children was by my ex-husband. So I had another son by this other man. And I remember the last time he had choked me. After beating me, I fell in the bed. He started choking me. When I looked over, I was looking at my 1-year-old son. And the look that I seen on his face, I refused to let him think that this was okay. And at that point, I knew it was dangerous for me just to leave. Because the one time that I did tell him I was going to leave, that's when he pulled a gun on me. He said, don't let me have to come find you.
Wow.
So at the time, I was sneaking back and forth to the battered shelter, getting counseling, trying to seek help, getting the tools I need to try to build my strength so that I could escape. And the one time that he was gone, I got friends together, packed up my stuff. The apartment he came back to, I was not there.
Well, good for you. Wow. So that's a message to other women. So after you left the apartment, you left it empty and got all your kids and all of your belongings. Mm-hmm. Then what did you have to do from there? How did you survive?
From there, as the process that I was getting ready to leave, I had to think of ways to where he couldn't tell that what I was up to. Because when I changed the locks one time, he kicked the door in. Now, mind you, this ain't my home. This is apartments. So anything that happened goes on me. So this time I had to think differently. I couldn't let him know. So my ex-husband was married to another woman at the time. So they sat down with me and they decided to take my children until I found a place. It was hard for me to let go of my children because my children are my life. I live for my children. But I allowed them to go with their dad and his wife so that I could have that time to plot to get away. And when I did in the middle of going through the battered shelter and everything, I was looking for a place to stay. Little by little, I was taking important documents, hiding them somewhere else. Little by little, I was taking things until the day where I knew that he was going to Corpus to go fish with his friends, and that was my time right there. And we did it so fast. He didn't know where I was for about 2 years.
Wow. Wow. So, so you say, did you ever stay in the battered women's shelter?
Yeah, I used to live. Yeah, before my third son, with my two that I left my ex-husband that I took with me, we actually stayed in the shelter. It was nervous for me because this was a total different environment. I couldn't let nobody know where I was at. I couldn't call anyone. And at the same time, I couldn't tell people what I was going through because I was embarrassed. So it wasn't just the fear that I was dealing with. It was the embarrassing part because nobody really knew what I was going through.
Wow. So let me ask you this. So you were afraid to leave, and then you were embarrassed, but was there any kind of emotional connection where you felt you still loved these people that were abusing you, and that caused you?
The second man, well, the first one I grew out of love because everything that built up in me, it just went from hurt to anger to, at that time, hate. The second one, I could say for about 6 months I cried because I really truly did love him. I really did. And it was, but what I was looking at, what was more important was my children. And I knew that you couldn't love me if this is the way you treat me. So at this point, I felt like I was in love by myself. And the best thing for me and my children, because like I would always pray, because when I left my ex-husband, I left with nothing. He came back, he destroyed the house and everything. But my security was, as long as I had my children, I'm good.
So does anything happen to the men that abuse the women? If the women survive, what happens after that? You just kind of get away and just start a new life, or?
Well, actually, it's not that easy because on my ex-husband, I did have a protective and restraining order on him. Even though the judge did award him to stay away, he would break in my house, bust out windows. The cops were like, they would have to actually catch him there. Now, this was in 2003. Things have changed since then. The cops outside laughing and joking and smoking a cigarette and making bets on me going back to him. And that's where I grew the mistrust for the police department at that time. Because I felt like if I didn't have them to protect me, I didn't have anyone. And I didn't know what to do. But when I found the battered women and children shelter, I actually found somebody that actually was there for me and that actually cared. And they was willing to help me get through this.
Wow. So were you working at the time when all of this was happening?
When I was working at Supercenter Walmart with my ex-husband when I left him, I ended up having to quit because he was coming up there stalking me. They had gave him a non-trespass and that didn't matter. They tried to protect me as best as they could, but it was just an ongoing thing. He wouldn't stop.
So something is wrong with them, something mentally. So do you know if they've ever gotten help after this?
I don't think he got help. The end result with him is that even though he was married, he had said in front of his former wife, well, his past wife and his auntie, no matter who I'm with, I'm gonna still be in love with her. And that was frightening to me. Like, okay, you're married now. It didn't make sense. So he ended up moving out of the state, and he said his reason was that he couldn't be here and not be able to be with me.
Wow. So now, you've you got out of two situations. You were
Yes.
tough enough to get out, and so now you're an advocate.
Yes.
You're a survivor, and
Yes.
so after that you became an advocate. So what do you do as a domestic violence awareness advocate?
Well, before I became an advocate, I was actually the published author first. After that, stepped.
Okay.
And to remind you, when I decided that I needed to heal, I was single for 10 years. I just focused on me and my children. I focused on trying to heal me, because what people don't understand is it's not something that you just can escape from and then, oh, I'm good. You have to deal with the emotional and the mental. So it's a process in healing in order to, and the reason why I say that is because you could end up in another relationship the same or worse, or you can have the next relationship with the man pay for something what the past man did if you do not heal.
Mm-hmm. So, because you have those same reactions, you don't really, you have trust issues probably and fear issues. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
at that
tough,
time
right?
I did. I had trust issues. I still lived in fear. Um, I didn't want no man approaching me at all.
Wow. Well, that's probably good. That's probably good that you had that your guard up like that to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And so, but as an advocate, what do you do?
Well, as
How
an
do you help
advocate
others?
now is that I reach out to the community in order to help the ones that's residing in the battered women children's shelter. Also ones that are victims of abuse, because sometimes, well, I'm gonna say a lot of times, a person won't heed to something unless they know somebody has actually been through it and got out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've helped people, get out of situations, help escape, giving the tools and the material that they need in order to go through the process of healing, as well as not ending up in the same situation again.
Wow. So you also you said became a published author before you became an advocate. And
Yes.
so what's the name of your book and what's it about and how did that help you get through it and how does it help others get through it?
Well, actually, the unspoken heart, it was my place to escape from my fear. It was my place to heal. So it's a true existence in a poetic style. So it was like a melody that helped me to gain the strength that I needed to heal. I did not know that it was going to actually help others. And until God placed somebody in my life to say, you're going to do a book. So, when I started, when I did become a published author and I got the reviews back and feedback, I was shocked. I was really shocked as how many people it was actually helping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you never know because you said they're silent about it. People don't really talk about it.
No, they don't.
Some people grew up in a family of domestic violence, and then
Yeah.
they end up attracting someone that does the same thing to them. So it's
And that was
totally
my situation, was that I was exposed to domestic violence. And I really, at the time, I know what big mama love was, but I didn't know what true love was when you speak of relationship. So I had to, along the way, learn that.
okay. So you're a domestic violence survivor.
Yes.
Then you're a published author, and that was to help you to escape and heal,
Mm-hmm.
and get everything out. And then
Yes.
you became an advocate.
Yes.
And just recently, you're the owner and the founder of a talk show.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about that. And she's got that Anita Baker voice. I keep telling y'all she could go for Anita Baker if you don't see her. So tell us
Well,
about that.
the unspoken heart discussion hour, it came about because I felt like I wanted to reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was designed in order to help people to learn along the lines of domestic violence, to heal, to love, to bring together relationships. But we also venture out to help other artists to get exposed within their area. And within the artists, I began to learn that they have crosses. And with their crosses, they speak through the melody of the vocal sense, whether it's singing, whether it's, poetry, whether it's rapping. That's the best type of food is when you have crosses and you apply that cross into that. it pulls out the strength.
So when you say crosses, what do you mean?
That's just like you say, storms. It's just like with me, with the domestic violence, everything in my writing, I'm gonna be honest, I go back and sometimes I don't believe it's me, because this you talking to somebody, they couldn't get higher than a D in English, it couldn't stand it, but got 4 awards on the book itself. And the words, it touches to where it makes you feel like you're actually there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say crosses, you put your pain all into something. You put all your love into something to where it comes out powerful.
Wow. So this is a great, 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 great story. I see some other things coming out of this, but this is Laura Thompson. You're tuned into the Coffee Break on TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel and a global reach. And we're here with the raspy voiced, Spicy Gray. She talks like Anita Baker to me. When I close my eyes, I just hear Anita, but I know there's only one Anita Baker and there's only one Spicy Gray. So we're here talking in commemoration of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I am super excited to have
Hello? Okay, she froze up for a minute. So everyone just give her just a second to get back in. Well, until we can get her back in, because I know this happened on another show, I will read y'all a little something. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, I just keep, the boogeyman just keeps bumping me out, but I keep getting back in. But go ahead and finish.
I was just going to read them some from the Spoken Heart until you came back in.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
This one here is called The Escape. Standing still as down fall the rain, disguising outside visible with pain. Unveiled face withdrawn from falling tears, cloudy waters hiding all apparent fears. It's just the little things deep inside of me, dreaming of what the mind begins to see. There's nothing in this world I'd rather do than allow thunderstorms to race outline images of you. Slowly lowering eyes to wetness beneath my feet, gazes of reflection to focus expression me. Wondering how she escaped from instilled scars, sleeping soundly in the comfort of unmarked cars, while raising her head to stars above, softly speaking, Lord, send me peace, significant to a pure white dove. All as a woman, my heart won't let it be, and life with strength, I need to be set free.
Wow, it's beautiful. And you got that soothing voice to go along with it. That is awesome.
Thank
And
you.
it's a great, great gift to have, and it's a great outlet, for someone that's going through a lot of pain and needs doesn't really want to talk to anybody, but you could just write it out. And then once you write it out and publish a book, it heals a lot of other people too. So you got anything else in there that you can read to us?
Well, I got one, and this one here is actually on the CD that just got released 3 months ago, and it's also called Unspoken Heart. And the reason why I wrote this is because this was one of the times where I was in a hospital laying and I had fractured ribs from being beaten. And I was laying on a bed and I was looking up at this mirror, and these words came down, and it's to give people the idea of how serious domestic violence is. And this is called Blackout. Stretched with dry waterfalls lying down our pale face, silver metal content laid upon as a temporary place. Attempting to retract how one landed a cold room, visions in head are blurry with outline of gloom. Surrounding echo voices speaking from medical terms of technology. She did not go to college, but one appeared degree of biology. White covering shield blocking optical sight. All is not dark, for there's a faded gleaming light. Footsteps on the pavement as temperature never began to change. She can't feel her heartbeat, for no emotion is in range. A hand lowers to her head, removing cloth of protection, and glass above mounted, flat, one mirrored reflection. Eyes positioned towards the ceiling without a minute's blink. Now, being motionless, she won't even have to think. The face is unrecognizable for any human being to begin to see. I'm lying lifeless because he took all his anger out on me.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's powerful. Very powerful. So there's that poet that I was talking about 2 years ago when I interviewed her. I said, she's a poet and don't know it, but she will. So that is great, great. That's a great, great testimony. So this is Laura Thompson. You're tuned into the Coffee Break on TAAN TV, but we're here with the phenomenal Spicy Gray. She touched my heart and made me put care signs on her emojis on her interview on Facebook. But so, you know, it's amazing what you can do if you just continue to move forward. And sometimes you have to do something because the pain is so unbearable that you have to have some type of outlet. And so she used a positive outlet. And so she went from survivor to an author, poet, to an advocate. She's also a motivational speaker. She didn't talk about that, but tell us a little bit about speaking. And all of it goes hand in hand. It's not that she's doing a whole bunch of things. She's just using that gift and talent that she has to spread the word in a lot of different ways. So tell us about your motivational speaking.
Well, the motivational speaking, I never thought I was going to be doing that because, I mean, I could tell a person off, but I could never be bold enough to go in front of a whole auditorium. But as a motivational speaker, you know, I have spoken out to the University of Health and Science, the police headquarters. I've been down to Austin, Texas,
Wow.
and at the Capitol Courthouse, in front of a panel of judges. I've also spoken out at elementaries as well, and at other events, you know, when called upon. So it's something now that I really enjoy doing. And I truly thank God for it. You know, I use it as in to get the message out, to let people know that we need to join together in unity because one voice is not going to break the chain. It's going to take all of us together.
Wow. So it's amazing, you know, you can turn a tragedy, or, you know, something that really, really brought you down into a victory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Spicy has done. I'm super, super proud of her. I'm glad to be a Scorpion just like her.
Yes, but I'm gonna tell
And
you
a
this:
poet too.
the one key that people have to remember, because some look at me back then and he look at me now, you have to learn how to forgive.
Mm.
It took a long time process and different levels in my life in order to face my abusers and say I forgive you.
Wow. And so that is a tough, tough spot to be in, but it's also a source of freedom.
Yes.
You know, you free your own self from your own, you enslave yourself, and you have the ability to free yourself as well.
Yes.
And so we're so glad that you were available today to come and talk to us. You're the second author that has come on today, but you know, yours is a real life story. The other one was a fictional story, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, fictional. But it's been great having a conversation with you. You have been tuned into the Coffee Break on TAN TV, the African American Network. We have a local feel and a global reach, and we've been here with Miss Spicy Gray. And I have one other question. It's a two-part question.
Okay.
And so, what would you tell someone that is experiencing domestic violence, and if they were trying to give up themselves, what would you tell them?
First, I would tell them to, you know that they are valuable, that they are loved, and that They do not deserve to be hurt physically, mentally, emotionally, or verbally. Their life is too valuable. In order to get out, I would tell them to make sure they take the right steps in order to escape safely. Never tell your abuser that you're going to leave. We have had some that did do that and did not come out alive.
Wow.
Know that the battered women and children's shelter is there for you. If you don't feel comfortable, you can contact me anytime. I'm there. No matter what time of day it is, I'm there for you.
Wow. So do you have any hotline numbers available that people can call?
Yes.
Um,
The first one is for anybody that's not here in San Antonio, Texas. It's 1-800-799-SAFE. That's SAFE. If you are here in San Antonio, the Family Violence Protective Services is 210-930-3669. If you want to contact me, it is theunspokenheart70@aol.com.
wow. And so you heard it first. I think it may have been first or second or third, who knows? But you heard it on TAAN TV, the African American Network, where we have a local feel and a global reach. And we are just, I'm super proud of you personally.
Thank
I
you.
am, because I didn't know where, what you had gone through or where you've been, but I know that your spirit is like made a 360-degree turn from when I first met you. You seemed kind of sad and closed off. Now you're open. You've accomplished a lot of things, and you've had an opportunity to grow, and you're smiling. And I was saying, why? I said, I guess that's that scorpion in her. She's not smiling, but it wasn't. She was going through some things that she's overcome, and she's still healing. But she's willing to get out there and help others to heal as well, and kind of give them like a blueprint on kind of what needs to be done in order to escape a sad and abusive situation. So you've been tuned into the coffee break. We've been talking to Miss Spicy Gray about domestic violence and her experience with it in commemoration of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So Spicy, thank you so much for hanging out. And if you
Thank you for having
have
me.
a few last words, you can say them. Otherwise, we're gonna be out of here.
Yes. Domestic violence, I want everybody to know, we know that the COVID is going on and it's been going on for a few months now. But just remember that now 18% has risen, because they're home now longer with their abusers. The battered shelter is overwhelming with not just the mothers, but also the children. So we ask that you just keep them in prayer. It's more than saying enough. Enough is enough when we all stand together and do something.
Wow. So thank you so much. And thank you for joining us, Spicy. It's always a pleasure. And I am so happy to see that big smiling face. I didn't know that it was in there, but it's in there and it came out. So, and you've done some great things. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ciao.